The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's July 1995. A heat wave envelops the East, killing more than 1,000 people, just as unusual summer squalls drench Los Angeles. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil is a bestseller, and Forbes has just named Bill Gates the richest man in the world. This month, Ron Goldman would be celebrating his 27th birthday had he not been murdered alongside his friend Nicole Brown in the ritzy neighborhood of Brentwood. The families of both victims find themselves once again in a Los Angeles County courtroom, still hoping there will be justice for their loved ones, as the trial of the century continues. This week in the O.J. Simpson trial, Simpson's personal physician takes the stand. He testifies that the former NFL great's body is such a wreck that he wasn't strong enough to commit the savage attacks that killed Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. I'm Roger Cossack, and this is OJ25.
Back on the record in the Simpson matter, Mr. Simpson is again present before the court with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey.
Lon Cryer, juror number 6, kept a personal journal, as well as trial notes, over 600 pages in all, while on the Simpson jury.
Okay, here we go. Okay, today is Wednesday, July 19th, and we're in the 7th day of the defense's case, with them moving at breakneck speed to get witnesses on and off the stand. In fact, on some days, they've gotten as many as 8 witnesses on stand in the same day. That is, of course, until they got to the testimony of Dr. Robert Heisinger.
When did you see Mr. O.J. Simpson first as a patient?
I saw him first on noon on June 15, 1994.
And was that at someone's suggestion other than Mr. Simpson's?
Yes, it was.
Whose suggestion was that at?
It was at your suggestion.
And did we have a previous relationship?
Yes, we did. You are a longtime patient of a partner of my practice, and I've seen you on a medical basis when he has been on a leave of absence and on vacations.
O.J. Simpson's doctor claimed that O.J. Simpson was just too enfeebled, too injured to be able to commit these murders, which was ridiculous.
I did a very thorough history, subsequently a physical examination. A number of head concussion when he was playing with the Buffalo team, a left retinal tear, and then he had this whole host of significant orthopedic complaints. A surgery on his left wrist all the way back to 1965, which significantly limited the motion in his left wrist and caused him continuing pain. Some finger problems. He had had multiple fractures, which is pretty common in football, and significant knee complaints. Visibly enlarged knuckles, which also can be associated with either fractures or osteoarthritis or other rheumatologic arthritic conditions. Severe wear and tear arthritis of the left knee. He basically was visibly limping as he came down the hall.
When I was around Simpson, he wasn't limping around or anything else. You know, I've got some problems with my shoulders, a little arthritis, and I have a problem putting my hands behind my back because of arthritis. He didn't have any problem putting his hands behind his back when he got handcuffed. So that was...
He was able to extend his knee, but really could only flex it to a point you can hear.
He's busted up. You know, OJ has played a lot of football, and back when OJ played football, they played real football. OJ used to carry the football 30, 40 times a game, if not more. And he took a beating the whole time he played. And OJ this isn't a guy that's a spry young man. I've seen him get up in the mornings. He gets up and he's busted, he's broken.
When I saw him originally, I just kind of got out a pen and went around his hand. And this was his right hand.
Because his joints swell up, his hands swell up.
And basically this joint right here was enlarged, this was enlarged, this was enlarged, this. Bony kind of enlargements.
And this appears to me as a layperson to be a man in pretty good shape. Would that be your evaluation?
Well, to look at him, you know, he really has the physique, certainly when I saw him, of Tarzan. He was walking more like Tarzan's grandfather.
Doctor, your specialty is internal medicine, is that correct?
That is correct.
Welcome, the juice, OJ Simpson.
I had the beginnings of rheumatoid arthritis, and I was having really a tough time. I actually had mornings that I could not open my door. I started taking regularly Juice Plus. Almost immediately, I started feeling better. I mean, I was one of these guys with 6, 7 Advils a day, you know, and until a day where I don't have to take anything. And
Would that suggest somebody who is in a condition better than, as you described him based on his walk, Tarzan's grandfather?
If you assume that pitchmen can be taken at their word, then I think obviously he was doing better.
You're saying that Mr. Simpson was merely a pitchman who was lying to the people there.
I can't say whether it was a full lack of understanding of his disease that led him to not understand the possible effect of the anti-rheumatoid arthritis medication he was taking at the time of that speech, or whether he was knowingly misrepresenting to make money.
It's just something else, more crap you throw out there. Someone's going to say, hey, he had arthritis, he couldn't have done that. Maybe one of those people is sitting in that jury box.
Doctor, was there any finding made by you which dealt with any physical limitation of Mr. Simpson's, which in your opinion would have prevented him from murdering 2 human beings using a single-edged knife on June 12th of 1994?
objection.
Overruled. You may answer the question, Doctor.
No, there was not.
Could he, with his left hand, have grabbed the hair of his ex-wife and pulled her head back?
In a stationary situation, yes.
And when stationary, I want you to assume she is collapsed on the walkway in front of her condominium. That's the kind of condition you're talking about, right?
That's correct.
And in your opinion, he could do that?
That is correct.
And not only could he do that, Doctor, in your opinion, could he then, with his right hand holding a knife, slit her throat? Did he have the strength in his hand to do that?
Given a stationary hypothetical, as you have said, yes, I believe that that would be possible.
Incidentally, Doctor, have you been provided with any exercise videotapes of Mr. Simpson?
Yes, I have. I saw that this Sunday.
The prosecution got up there and showed videotape of him doing, an exercise video right before, and you just looked at him and you knew that he was, he may have had some football injuries, but he was a big, powerful man.
If that is shown, it should be shown from the beginning to the end so they can see all the rest periods, all the breaks that had to be taken.
I have no problem if Mr. Shapiro wants the whole video shown, although I think, quite frankly, the first 40 minutes of the spiel, take after take, is not really terribly relevant to this witness.
This video, both sides have their arguments, and what people don't realize is that the arguments you hear in court are a huge deal, and they're well thought out. Both sides have thought out. The prosecution wants this in, but they don't want the whole thing in. The defense doesn't want it in at all, but they know if it comes in, if the whole thing comes in, that's better for them. So you hear these arguments, and they may seem like they're off the cuff. No, they are well thought out and very important, and this is where the judge has the power. They're both trying to sway Judge Ito. He has all of the power, and this is where judges make a huge difference.
The prosecution is not required to play the tapes in their entirety for the purposes of cross-examination.
It's entitled Playboy Entertainment Group, Inc., OJ Quad Split, Tape 1.
All right, what we're going to start with is what we call easy impact. It's athletic, it's physical, and there's no dancing. What we've done is we've taken a lot of moves that you would use if you were competing in a sport and incorporated them in a cardiovascular workout. Why don't we get started, gang?
All set?
All right.
Let's get going.
We have speed. Action.
How about bull shoulders? Ready, let's go.
Hey, this calf is really great if you've been sitting on an airplane for 4 or 5 hours.
Kicking those feet up, getting her moving.
It's like dancing. See what I mean?
I just want to get some weight on those joints. Prepare you guys, because I got a surprise. That's it, get shoulders, arms. Oh, here we go. When we do a jump rope, great exercise. All right, so we get that heart rate up, we got your breathing adjusted, and let's get it on.
I'm feeling so good now I want to dance. No competition here. This is a workout for you to feel better. Just do something. Do what you can do.
This court has heard testimony of domestic violence involving Mr. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson. Mr. Simpson's unscripted remark reflects his state of mind, his attitude towards his wife, his attitude towards striking his wife.
This was said with a smile on Mr. Simpson's face.
OJ abused my sister dating back to 1978. So pretty much from day one, he was gonna get her. And if it wasn't on June 12th, he was gonna get her eventually.
The people who heard the remark were chuckling at it. It was clearly a remark made in jest. It was taken in jest.
If this video had been shown the day after, or had been shot the day after the murders, and Mr. Simpson made the very same remark to that trainer that he makes in this video, I don't think there's one person who's exercising with Mr. Simpson or one person who would watch that video who would be laughing along with Mr. Simpson.
Clearly something that is potentially very, very prejudicial.
Its unfairness or its possible prejudice is what? That the jury will think, what? That he beats his wife, or that he thinks beating a wife is something that's of no consequence. Well, isn't that exactly what this is all about?
Let's get a little boxing movement going here.
Oh,
that's
yes.
it. Now, OJ, I warn you, you come near me, man. This left hand.
Yeah, I'm telling you, just got to get your space in if you're working out with the wife, if you know what I mean. You can always blame it on working out.
So the prosecution has two great things from this video. First of all, it shows OJ working out, physically fit. Then he makes this disgusting joke about, possibly hitting his wife. That is a huge win. But it's not everything. The defense does have something, and that is the fact that OJ, during the video, talks about his knee, how his knee is not in the condition to do certain exercises.
Okay, now this is something that I would have a little trouble doing because of my bad knee.
He's bringing up his disability, if you will, but the key is he's in the courtroom, and he is actually looking at the jury while this is going on. He's making that connection, which gives him a huge advantage.
Now, if you haven't worked out in weeks or years, you should be able to do this.
Yep, exactly right. Careful on that lower back. Let's go one more time like this.
Simpson in the courtroom at times would kind of mug a little bit for the jury. He definitely had a presence, and I think that had some impact.
First of all, Doctor, in viewing this videotape, did you see Mr. Simpson limp as you say he limped, in the same fashion you saw him limp on June 15th that led you to describe Mr. Simpson as walking like Tarzan's grandfather?
In this tape...
Yes or no, Doctor?
In this tape, he has an altered cadence, but his limp was definitely more pronounced when I saw him on 6/15/94.
Is your answer that you did not see the limp as you say you saw it on the 15th?
That is correct.
And although he came under the intense cross-examination by prosecutors, Brian Kellberg, whom I'm determined is the prosecution's pit bull, Dr. Hunzinger still proved to be a credible and unbiased witness for the defense despite numerous efforts by Mr. Kellberg to cross him up.
Did you have any doubt as to whether or not he was the right candidate for this video?
I thought he was too physically limited to be the co-host with me.
And here to help us with it is one of the best motivators I know, personal trainer Richard Walsh.
Thanks, OJ. Call the next witness.
Did you have any doubt as to whether or not he was the right candidate for this video?
I thought he was too physically limited to be the co-host with me.
Do you do something unusual before you start a workout and before you're going to be on camera? Do you do something unusual for yourself?
You're letting out all my secrets here. Yes, I do. If you've ever been on a TV set or a video set or movie set, there's these big lights and there's these reflector boards. And holding these reflector boards and lights down are big sandbags. And I always walk over the sandbags right before we're about to shoot. And I grab a couple of them and I start lifting like this. And it gives you kind of a false size of your arms.
Did O.J. Simpson come over to where you were?
Yes, he did.
And describe what you observed at that point.
The bags probably weighed anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds. And I was doing a good amount of repetitions. And he's put it in his hand. And much to my surprise, he couldn't even lift it.
The trial wasn't about real people being murdered. It was about celebrity. That's all that the defense certainly concentrated on. That's all the trial was about. Some football hero, some thug, some spouse abuser was accused of murdering two people. Oh, it couldn't possibly be him. He's famous. And the hell with two people that he butchered.
In the second half hour of the tape was little segments of things you can do to stay loose or physically fit a little bit while you're in the office or on an airplane.
Let's start with a simple one, the neck rotation, you know? Very simple. Don't disturb anyone, just get it going. Get those shoulders going, a little shoulder rope. Here's one that's really kind of funny. It's called the buttock squeeze. I'm not gonna really show it to you, but if you're sitting behind a guy and you see his head doing that, you can bet he's doing the buttock squeeze.
Quite a bit of the time, the case felt less like a murder case than it was just a spectacle, a media spectacle in which we were all participants.
And then suddenly, there's Geraldo Rivera.
I have a contract to make appearances to promote the tape.
You've been on Geraldo twice?
Yes.
Geraldo.
The guy back there, Geraldo Rivera, you've been on this show
Correct.
Twice? It actually took you, what, 15 hours, 16 hours to shoot this video?
I don't know the exact time, but it was pretty high. Yeah, it was right up in that area.
Once you began shooting, the defendant somehow found the energy and made the effort to do the exercises that you wanted him to do. Is that right?
That is correct.
He was a lot better at this than you ever thought he would be, correct?
That's correct.
That's all.
That's a lot better at finishing this project despite his physical limitations than you thought he'd ever be. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Was there any evidence of any recent injuries whatsoever?
There was no evidence of trauma of any sort.
I sat in the limo with him to go to my sister's funeral. All I remember is sitting in the car and I looked at the cut on his hand and I just went, okay, what's going on?
Describe what you see in the photograph.
A jagged laceration. It was quite what we'd call a very superficial wound.
I kept questioning in my mind the reason why the finger was ever cut.
On his third finger, he had a lesion that had the appearance of a fish hook. He had a second laceration on that third finger.
And Simpson's statement had been he cut his finger in the sink because he dropped one of the glasses.
Do you have any opinion as to how the injury above the knuckle was caused?
It seemed to me to be more consistent with glass.
Did you ask Mr. Simpson when he got any of these injuries? When, as in time?
I asked him how he got the lacerations, which he said he got cut by glass. I did not exactly ask him the time. I didn't ask him whether or not he committed this crime.
I went to Chicago. First thing we had done in Chicago, we called the Chicago Police Department. And they sent 2 homicide detectives to that room, that very room. Before it was cleaned up, before they did anything, they secured that room and let nobody in that room. The last person in that room was O.J. Simpson. Again, it hadn't even been cleaned up. So I went back there with one of our investigators, and Bill Hodgman. Bill was with us. So I took one of these glasses for the hell, and I slid it. Not super hard, it would fly off but enough that it would get to the sink, and I really slid it pretty hard. It went in the sink, hit the side, boom, rolled around. I picked it up and I dropped it in the sink, rolled around. And I couldn't break the glass.
As OJ25 continues, the defense brings O.J. Simpson's Bronco back into the spotlight, attacking the LAPD's handling of it and the collection of evidence from it. One more indication, according to the defense, that O.J. Simpson was framed.
All right, good morning, sir. Would you stand over here by the podium and face the clerk, please?
Danny Mandel, D-A-N-N-Y-M-A-N-D-E-L. I was on a first date.
Had this date been arranged by a mutual acquaintance?
Yes, it has. We shared the same doctor.
When you don't have an eyewitness to a case, you have to look at other circumstantial witnesses. You have to look at what the weather was like, or if anybody else could hear. Was there a wind? How far away were you? What did you hear? And does hearing something identify any specific element of that crime that took place?
What time did you arrive at Miss Aronson's apartment?
At a little past 8 o'clock.
Do you know what time you left the restaurant?
I would approximate 10:15 or so.
Which route did you take going home?
We walked Gorham west onto Bundy and continued Bundy until Darlington.
At some point in time, did you become aware of the precise location of Nicole Brown Simpson's condominium?
Yes.
Is there any question that you walked by that area?
No. It was at the bottom of the hour, approximately 10:30.
When you walked by that area, did you notice anything unusual?
No.
Did you hear anything unusual?
No.
Did you hear any barking dogs?
None.
Did you see any blood in the area that's depicted in the photograph?
No, I did not.
Did you see the shape or silhouette of the body of a person when you walked by?
No.
Did you see any footprints that looked like bloody paw prints in the area as you were walking on 875 South Bundy?
No, I didn't.
We had witnesses that testified that they walked by the murder house, the Bundy house, about 10:30 that night, and they didn't see anything, which would mean that the time of death wasn't what Marcia wanted it to be, 10:15, but later, towards 11 o'clock, when Simpson was in the limo on the way to the airport.
Now, Mr. Mandel, your first statement actually, your first belief was actually that you were at the location of 875 South Bundy at about 11 o'clock, correct?
No.
You did not know exactly when you'd left, is that right?
Exactly, no.
And it was very dark there that night, wasn't it?
I don't know how you gauge it. It was nighttime.
As you walked down the street on Bundy, were you looking up each pathway to see what was at the end of each pathway to each house?
No, I was not.
I'd like, ma'am, to ask you whether or not you're acquainted with a gentleman by the name of Mr. Danny Mandel.
We had a date once.
So
to speak.
You walked past 875 Bundy. Did you at any time hear the plaintive wail of a dog?
No, I didn't.
Did you hear any dogs barking as opposed to plaintively wailing?
No.
Did you see any bloody paw prints or any traces of blood on the sidewalk that evening as you walked?
No, I didn't.
If you were walking, as these witnesses said, a young couple on a first date, if you were a witness, you couldn't have seen the bodies on the other side because Nicole was back by the steps and Ron was way off to the side. You wouldn't have seen anything.
Some point you talked with me, is that correct?
Correct.
And when was that, about a week or so ago?
About a week and a half
All right, and where was that conversation?
that I spoke with you?
Yes.
In your office?
Is that the first time we ever met?
No.
We met one other time?
Very briefly in passing.
Was that out somewhere socially or something?
Yes.
Okay, we weren't together. You
No.
happened to see me at a place?
Yes.
My wife may be watching, but you saw me someplace socially?
I saw you someplace where we were both out, not together.
Okay.
Separately.
I was with my wife, right?
Yes, you were.
Okay, good. I'll take the stand. I'll take the stand. I was with my wife. No speculation. Remember that.
All right, thank you.
We believed that Marcia Clark was a formidable opponent, and we liked her, and she liked us. I think there was a mutual respect.
Did you hear the sound of a barking dog?
No, I did not.
Did you hear the wailing of a dog?
No, I did not.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cross not to make before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. My name is Francesca Harmon.
Where were you in the early evening hours of June the 12th?
At a dinner party.
And what time did you leave the dinner party?
10:15.
Did you hear the sound of a barking dog?
No, I did not.
Did you hear the wailing of a dog?
No, I did not.
Did you hear any argument or loud voices?
No, I did not.
Did you notice any white vehicle in the area on Bundy between Dorothy and Montana?
No, I did not.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Did you happen to drive to the area located behind Nicole Brown's condo that night?
I would have no reason to be on this street here.
Okay, so you don't know whether or not there was a white Ford Bronco parked behind that structure at 10:20 or not, is that correct?
That's correct.
You didn't hear any noise that sounded like fighting?
No, I did not.
And you couldn't hear any noise that sounded like fighting because you were listening to the radio, is that correct?
Objection, cause for second.
Oh.
I had the radio on. I did not hear any noise.
Denise Pilnack.
Did you know who Miss Nicole Brown Simpson was?
Yes, I did. I used to see her running with her girlfriend, Cora,
All right.
several times a week. But I just knew her. Just living in Brentwood, you know everyone.
All right.
I am a stickler with time. I don't go anywhere without 2 watches when it's important.
And what happened at 10:18, please?
Well, Judy had been over all day. I said to her, Judy, it's 10:18. You've been here all day, and I'm going out of town in a couple days. You're going to have to leave.
And so you parted company at about what time?
10:21. That Sunday evening, it was exceptionally quiet. As long as I've lived in that home, I never remember a night when it was absolutely still. There wasn't a sound to be heard.
There was lots of information coming to us from outside channels as well. I feel like it all just kind of came together to help us advance our defense theory.
When I went back into the bathroom, I was drying my hands, and I heard a dog barking.
All right. And to the best of your recollection, what time was that you heard this dog barking at that point? Your best recollection?
About 10:35.
And all these people that it seemed like they were just trying to get on board. You know, a lot of those people had nothing interesting to say about what they saw, thought they saw, or observed the night of the murders themselves. And so I was like, where are they bringing these people in from?
Have you told us the truth here today about your testimony?
Yes, I have.
You're not here to prefer one side or the other. Where are you?
No. Just justice.
Thank you very kindly. Nothing further at this point, Your Honor.
People? Ms. Clark.
Ms. Pilnack, you're a stickler for time, are you?
Yes, I am.
So you knew that they were talking to you about a murder investigation on the morning of June the 13th, correct?
Yes.
That's pretty important, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And so you were trying to be careful to tell them accurately whatever information you had, weren't you?
Yes, but I was in shock. I had just found this out minutes before they walked in.
Now, Ms. Pilnack, you've given several interviews to the press since this case occurred, have you not?
Living on Bundy, I've had cameras in front of my face, yes.
And on June the 14th, you were interviewed in front of Rockingham, weren't you?
Yes.
You don't live in Rockingham, do you?
No, but I run there every Monday and Tuesday.
And you told the press that also the same thing you told the police officers, that you heard dogs barking at around shortly before midnight. Isn't that correct?
If you say so.
Do you recall talking to the press about what time you heard dogs barking?
I believe I do.
Do you recall talking to a reporter for a newspaper called the Atlanta Constitution on June the 14th, 1994?
I don't recall that particular person.
But you recall talking to reporters on that date, correct?
I believe so.
And you recall telling those reporters, or at least one of those reporters, that you remember hearing dogs barking shortly before midnight?
I believe so.
We've had so many commentators who have mentioned, you're locked in 10:15 or 10:20. Come on, guys. You know, you've all been in that area. There is plenty of time within the timeline that the defense is even giving us for the crime to have been committed and for Mr. Simpson to have gotten back to his house on Rockingham.
For this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God?
Yes, I do. My name is Robert Heidstra.
Do you recall what time in the evening hours of that Sunday, June 12, 1994, did you walk your dogs?
Oh, that was 10:15. This is the condo.
Okay, when you say this is the condo, you're pointing toward
Nicole's condo?
Mr. Nicole Brown Simpson's condo?
Yeah.
Show us, if you can, on this photograph, the right side, where you were, the approximate area where you were.
Oh, it must have been down here. Then I stopped because I heard all of a sudden from nowhere Akita barking like crazy. Hell broke loose with Akita.
All you can tell us is when you first heard the dog bark. Is that correct?
Exactly.
You don't know whether or not that Akita was standing over Nicole's body crying at 10:15, do you?
Check to call that question.
Sustain.
Ron Goldman was just unlucky. He found the mother's glasses and offered to drop them off, and it cost him his life. A nearby witness heard him yell as the gate clanked shut, "Hey, hey, hey." That is when Goldman discovered them cutting Nicole's head almost clean off. In doing so, he pinned down the time of the murders almost to the second.
All of a sudden I heard two voices.
And what did you hear these two voices say?
Well, the first one I heard was a clear male young adult voice that said, "Hey, hey, hey." I heard another voice fast talking back to him, to the person who said, "Hey, hey, hey."
Did you hear what the other voice said?
Could never hear, the dogs were barking so much, so loud. Then I heard a gate slamming, bang.
And after you heard the gate slam, what did you hear next?
Nothing anymore.
Now, the first voice that you heard, how did you describe that voice yesterday?
It was, hey, 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 3 times.
When you heard that voice, you thought that that was the voice of a young white male, didn't you?
Overruled. Counsel overruled. Sit down. The way the question was phrased, if there's a question or a statement that was made that says that, that's an appropriate question, counsel. Proceed.
How could I say that's a white male? I don't know the voice. Could be anybody there.
Did you ever tell Mr. Stevens, my investigator, that it sounded like a white man?
No.
The second voice that you heard sounded like the voice of a black man. Is that correct?
Sustained. Sustained.
Of course not. I don't.
Wait! Mr. Darden, where are you going with this?
Your Honor, in the discovery we just provided the defense, and in a statement Patricia Barrett gave to Detective Tom Lang, she told Detective Lang that Heitstra told her that he heard what sounded to him to be a young man holler, "Hey, hey, hey." Heitstra had then stated that he heard the very angry screaming of an older man who sounded black.
You can't tell by somebody's voice whether they sounded black, and I don't know who made that statement, whether Barrett or Lang or whoever said it, but I resent it, because that's a racist statement. You can't tell by listening to someone whether they're black or white or whatever, and I think it's totally improper. In America, at this time, in 1995, we have to hear this and endure this.
This is the witness's statement, and if the statement is racist, then he is the racist, not me. Okay?
I didn't say
and clearly, I mean, but that's what you're suggesting, and that's what, has created a lot of problems for my family and myself. Statements that you make about me and race, Mr. Cochran.
Well, you
and
stop
I would
doing
indicate
these
to the
things.
court.
Wait.
Christopher Darden was probably viewed by people in his immediate circle as, being a sellout. Why would you be going after, one of our greatest heroes at this particular time? Why would you allow them to trot you out like a show pony when you know that they've added you to this prosecution in order to deflect on the racism that was impacting this particular case?
I'm going to take a recess right now because I'm so mad at both of you guys. I'm about to hold both of you in contempt. We'll take 15. If I see this conduct again from either of you two, it'll take more than that.
The tension between Johnny Cochran and Chris Darden was really obvious. It was
palpable. There was a lot of sidebars, there was a lot of bickering amongst the attorneys, there was a lot of wasted time of the jury, especially for a jury that was sequestered. There were days sometimes when the jury wouldn't even come into the courtroom because there were arguments about evidence, and all of this was allowed.
Counsel, I've warned counsel for both sides previously that the court will not tolerate the personal attacks that have been exchanged. That the next time that happens, there will be severe sanctions.
Those of us who were covering the trial wrongly believed that no one would think that this was a race case. We were wrong. It clearly was a race case. And I've talked to jurors even 20 years later, and they said, oh, this was a race case. It just was.
The issue is, was this statement made? Content of the statement, however repugnant, depending on what your interpretation of the statement may be, is not particularly relevant. I want you to understand, I'm not mad at you, but I have several things on my mind.
Sure. Isn't it true that you told Patricia Barrett that the second voice, which would be the older man, sounded black?
Never said that, no. Never. Never said that, ever.
Mr. Heinstra, didn't you tell Patricia Barrett that the voice that you heard was the voice of the defendants?
Never, ever said that.
Didn't you tell Patricia Barrett, quote, I know it was OJ, it had to be him, unquote?
No, I never said that. Absurd. Absurd.
Didn't you?
I never said that to her. Never, ever. To nobody I've said that.
You expected to be called by the prosecution in this case, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought so, whatever they would call me.
The way that we describe witnesses, the way we determine whether or not they're credible, is often a reflection of the frame we bring to the observation.
You expected that you could make some money in this case, as a result of this case, if you were called to testify by the prosecution, is that correct?
Yes.
Didn't you tell Ms. Barrett that he, OJ Simpson, is gonna kiss you when he gets out of prison?
I don't know where she gets it from. That's absurd.
You telephoned the defense, didn't you?
Sure, yes.
And you told the defense you didn't like me very much.
No, you were not very pleasant with me.
Did you tell Patricia Barrett that you thought I was an ass?
Never, never said that at all.
The only kind of work you do is washing cars and detailing cars, is that correct?
Yes.
And not to demean you, but that is just how you make your living.
Yes.
You have dreams of one day having a lot of money, don't you?
Sustained.
Well, you have a desire.
Everybody, I guess, would have dreamed to have money.
Now, have you had opportunities to sell your story to various tabloids prior to now?
Sure, I never did.
Have you had an opportunity to sell your story to TV programs and do that?
Yeah, I never did.
So the fact that you might not have the newest car in the world, you've not succumbed to selling your story to make some money, have you?
Absolutely not.
You work hard every day, don't you?
You bet.
Is that honest work?
It's honest work, hard work.
Do you support yourself with that work?
I do. Not easy, but I do.
And are you proud of what you do?
I'm proud, I'm happy.
As the O.J. Simpson trial continues to unfold, the defense is relentless. Coming up, the defense zeroes in on blood evidence, claiming that it was planted at the Bundy and Rockingham crime scenes. That's next on OJ25. I'm Roger Cossack.